Hello internet, welcome to Maw's Theory, the video where I, M.A.W and Alpha Wolf, check off yet another item on my video making bucket list. I'll be honest, when I first started making these videos on this channel at around August 2017, there was a bucket list of different types of videos that I wanted to make. Reaction videos started off with that, so definitely check. Characters fighting IRL videos, check. Gaming videos, that was #1 priority. Check, check, check. One of the videos I definitely wanted to make was a theory video. Similar to MacPat or Alex Bales, I'm going to try to combine the two. And as I am dreading the editing process for this, I am excited because I was given the opportunity of a lifetime. You read the title of the video correctly, so you already know that this theory is going to be centered around Bluey. Well, to be more specific, her and her future unnamed child, who for the sake of not constantly abusing my inability to say they, them in a constant manner, I will refer to them as Oreo. Also, just a little bit of a disclaimer, I'm back from my vacation in Chicago. I literally just got back at the time of recording this video, so this is all recorded on April 25th. Use that as a grain of salt if this thing comes out and something immediately gets retconned by the time I, finish editing all this and actually post it. Just a little something to keep in mind. When Oreo finally made their first on-screen appearance since the leaks in December, the Bluey fandom understandably and predictably went insane. There are people saying that Jean-Luc is the father, there are people saying MacKenzie is the father, there are even some people saying that the father is someone we haven't even met in the series yet. I saw someone jokingly say that Jack is the father, and honestly that made me laugh. And with people talking and arguing about this, there are the people who are complaining about the arguing, which if I'm being honest, I see way more people complaining about shippers arguing than I ever actually see shippers arguing, which is annoying because seeing shippers argue on Twitter is one of my favorite dramatic pastimes. But that's completely unrelated. Okay, so first we need to address the elephant in the room. This child is undeniably, for certain, Bluey's. Not Bingos, not Muffins, not even Sox's. So let's just take them completely out of the equation. It will be so much easier and less strenuous for me to edit in this video. Okay, I'll explain, but I will make it quick. While I'm no expert on genetics, as far as mothers go, we can rule out Muffin and Sox immediately. Oreo looks nothing like Muffin in the slightest form. From the color and the coat design, she just gets ruled out immediately. When it comes to Sox, in a surprising twist, she actually looks pretty similar to Oreo in her coat and pattern. However, she still gets ruled out due to the tail and the innards of the ear being completely different. This leaves Bluey and Bingo to be the potential mothers of this adorable little pup, and I'm afraid that tale told all once again, along with the innards of the ears, but let me ignore that before I exhaust that. Hey, pause for just a second. This is the editing M.A.W and Alpha Wolf here. I just now realizing I made a slight mistake when it came to using Bingo's tail as a counter argument. It was the fact that she has a spot on her tail, whereas Oreo does not. That's the new tail evidence. Sorry about that. Just needed to pause so that I could correct that, because I actually did get the information wrong when it came to the tail. So, crisis averted. Just letting you know. So there, I just proved Bluey is, in fact, the mom. Happy? Hooray! Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's get to the part of the video that's gonna have people arguing in the comments. Like they're not already arguing about this on Twitter. Who, between MacKenzie and Jean-Luc, is Oreo's pops? Now yes, I am on Team MacKenzie, but I promise you I'm not being biased here, which is sadly more than I can say for people on both sides of this argument. I am going to prove why Jean-Luc could be the father as well as why MacKenzie could be the father, but fair warning, you Jean-Blue shippers aren't going to have a lot of legs to stand on here. So let's address the most argued trait of Oreo's appearance, that folded ear. That single folded ear is currently being used on both sides of the debate. Jean-Luc, who has 2 folded ears which can contribute to the ear flopping in the first place, and MacKenzie, who is literally designed with 1 folded ear and 1 standing straight. So this could be Oreo having the characteristics of their dad, so both sides are saying either side is responsible for that ear. And there's the third party that I will come back to in order to quote, because this actually helps out with the theory. So in terms of the ears, I gotta say this. This is leaning towards MacKenzie rather than Jean-Luc, and I have 3 reasons as to why that is the case. Technically, I have 4 reasons, but then again, we're gonna come back to that. Number 1 folded ear with the other one straight is a trait MacKenzie has had since he was a toddler. We can see this in the episode Space, that when MacKenzie was at around toddler age, he had that same 1 ear up with the other one down that he currently has in the series. While this was a flashback, MacKenzie seems to be roughly around the same age as Oreo here, if not just a little bit older, so it feels safe to use that as a reference. But then again, that's a bit of a stretch, to say the least. But allow me to follow that up with reason number 2. Number 2, we can still see the innards of Oreo's ear. Yeah, I'm bringing up the innards of the ear again, but again, hear me out. Jean-Luc's ears are folded, obviously, but the innards of his ears are never shown. Like, ever. This is the same thing for other labs in the series, such as Pat, Janelle, Lucky, Chucky, and Jean-Luc's parents. When the ears are folded for them, the lighter triangles on the inside of their ears do not show. But if we take a look at MacKenzie's folded ear, you can still see the inside of that ear, just like we can with Oreo. If it sounds like I'm reaching here, believe me, I am. But then again, I've seen this level of reaching with Blue Luke shippers, and it is just, you guys really want this baby to be his. But hey, as somebody who's been shipping Tyrene for the past 17 years, I'm not one to judge. A small nitpicky detail, but a telling one to be sure. Please remember I said that will, like all other things that I say, will be important later. Now, remember when I said I technically had 4 reasons as to why that bent ear was important to MacKenzie? Well, I'm gonna say the 4th reason before the 3rd, so I'm not being redundant, but Bluey's Uncle Stripe, that bent ear is just like Oreo's here. No, I'm not saying Uncle Stripe is the father. Get that stupid image out of your head, please. That is awful. You are awful if that's what you're thinking. What I'm saying is that the folded ear could easily be a healer trait just as much as it could be any one of those two passing it on to Oreo. So how exactly does this prove that MacKenzie is possibly the father? Let me introduce you to one of my favorite science tables to exist, the Punnett square. Now, I'm no science whiz, which is ironic because I actually do love science, but let me give you a little rundown on what the Punnett square is. The Punnett square is a diagram used by biologists to determine the probability of an offspring having a particular genotype. In non-science terms, it basically takes the traits of 2 parents and their ancestors and determines which traits get passed on to the kid. Since Bluey's Uncle Stripe does in fact have that folded ear, a single folded ear is genetically in the family. This might sound like I'm talking out of my behind, which if I'm being honest, I don't blame you if you think that, but a single folded ear running in the family and MacKenzie's single folded ear would increase the chances of that offspring having the same folded ear. I explained that so poorly, I know, but the point still stands. So now that I got that out of the way, let me go on to the 3rd, technically now 4th reason as to why those ears point to MacKenzie being the baby's dad. Number 3, that folded ear is on the darker side of Oreo's face. Once again, it sounds like a nitpick as well, but this is me making a theory. Every detail matters, including the ones most people seem to overlook. So why is it that the folded ear being on the darker side of Oreo's face is worth mentioning? Well, let's take a moment to compare Bluey's face and MacKenzie's face. Of course, they seem a bit different, yes. But when you bring Oreo into the mix, things start actually making sense. That part of Oreo's face looks like a combined color of Bluey and MacKenzie's patch around the face, which is more of a darkened shade of Bluey's right side patch. Now, if you took the patches from behind Bluey's eyes, added some black to them, you would get that dark blue color. That's why I say the folded ear being on that side of Oreo's head was a hint to being MacKenzie's offspring. So point 1 goes to MacKenzie. Okay, just a little disclaimer, this next ear telling detail was added after I finished the script, but I think it's worth mentioning while I'm still on using the ears as evidence. So lend me your ears a bit, please. It's a bit subtle, but the difference between Jean-Luc's ears and Oreo's ears could help prove that it's possible that MacKenzie is the father. Looking at Jean-Luc's ears, there's a slight inner fold towards the tip of his ear. It's rather hard to notice, yes, but upon noticing, it makes it clear that Jean-Luc could not have contributed these genes to Oreo, much like MacKenzie could have. I am spending a lot of time on the ears, I know, but so are both sides of this argument, so this is going to be the most important part, as well as the part most of you will be referencing in the video to say I'm either proving the point or missing the point entirely, or even going as far as to say I'm contradicting myself constantly on this point.
It's just monkeys singing songs, mate. Don't think too hard about it.
But I digress. In terms of Oreo's ears, their ears are also rather sharp at the tip, just like Bluey's, but also just like MacKenzie's. And if you think the tips of the ears don't matter, well, you can just look at the main healer family. Bingo and Chili have the tips of their ears being more round, whereas Bluey and Bandit's ears are much sharper. If the ears was to be a reference to Jean-Luc, it would be much rounder like we have for both Jean-Luc's parents. However, looking at MacKenzie and his father, both sharp pointed ears and the folded ear is, you guessed it, sharp. Now onto the coat color. I'm just going to give it to Jean-Luc here. I already brought up the fact that the floppy ear could be a healer trait considering Uncle Stripe has that folded ear, and as I did, I also noticed that Uncle Stripe has a surprisingly similar look to Oreo in terms of that coat color. A coat color that could, if you add some purple to that, be a near perfect match for Oreo. I'll stop it there. Jean-Luc has the coat color point. Enjoy it, Blue Luke shippers, because that's the only point you're going to be getting. No, I'm being completely serious here. MacKenzie absolutely dusts Jean-Luc in these other categories. This is the only point that Jean-Luc is getting in this theory, and it's sadly out of pity given the fact that we've already seen with Radley the coats don't really count as a determining factor on who the parent is. And even if I were to lowball it and say that is in fact a core clue to find out who the father is, it wouldn't really matter as a result either, because that coat color looks just like Bluey's grandma, Nana, Christine Healer, so that purple coat could easily be Nana's genes passing it down. Heck, I could even go further to say that Mackenzie's genes influenced the purple coat too. How? Well, let's take a look at Mackenzie's mother. Mackenzie's mother is a border collie, a red merle border collie. Red plus blue equals what color? That's right, purple. And if that sounds like a bit of a stretch, just remember Grandpa Bob can pass on the genes of a red healer, and Nana herself can easily pass on the genes of a blue healer, which can create something purple or similar to the colored purple, just like how they did with Stripe. So I could give the coat colored point to Mackenzie, but I'm not going to. Jean-Luc keeps the point. Yeah, this insane paragraph was literally just the intrusive thoughts winning, as well as letting you Blue Luke shippers have that win for how insane that sounded. I hope you enjoyed that win, because that's literally all you're gonna get. Yeah, Jean-Luc does not have much else. Coat color might have gone to Jean-Luc, but coat pattern is a completely different story. Looking at Oreo, it's clear. Mackenzie's pattern influenced that look. Not just in the face, but take a closer look at that neck. Look at where the lighter fur cuts off towards the darker fur. While it's not certain if Oreo has chest fluff like Mackenzie, even though from what I can see he in fact does, but only Jean-Luc is getting pity points, so I'm gonna leave that out. The fact that Oreo's light fur cuts off and leads to darker fur is a clear reference to Mackenzie. This is not a healer trait either, as all the other healers that we see in the show have dark fur that cuts off, leading to lighter fur, rather than the vice versa. Point goes to Mackenzie. Speaking of fluff, Oreo's got that fluff on their cheek, just like Mackenzie did when he was a toddler. Yet, another point given to Mackenzie. Hold on now, Alpha. That cheek fluff could very easily be Bluey's mullet coming in for Oreo. Beta, you don't show up in any of my videos for up to 5 to 6 years and you come back saying that? You just made the script much longer because now I gotta explain why that's an idiotic claim. That's what I'm here for. Ugh. Anyway, yes, the hair on Oreo's face could indeed be the mullet genes that the healers possess. That is if absolutely none of you were paying attention to how these characters grow. Long story short, this child seems to be roughly around Bingo's age, meaning they're either 4 or 5 years old, which is way too young to be growing in that healer mullet. Wouldn't that... Shut up. Let me elaborate further. Looking at Socks, Muffin, Bluey, and Bingo, it's clear that young healers simply don't grow these mullets at around that age for the most part. We even see this in the 80s episode Fairy Tale, where Bandit, who is 10, has the mullet, but his younger brother Stripe, who is roughly around the same age as Bluey here, if not a little bit older, has short hair on the side of his head, not a mullet. If anything, this actually helps the Mackenzie father theory, as that cheek fluff not being fully developed like Mackenzie had when he was a toddler could very easily be the healer's slow-growing mullet genetics influencing the growth of that cheek fluff. Even if we do take into account the fact that Socks is growing in some kind of hair on her head at just the age of 2, it would be illogical to assume that she gets this from her father, considering how his hair was when he was much younger. If anything, this is more so of a trait from Trixie's side of the family, who married into the healers rather than being a blood relation. This isn't even the only instance of the healers only getting different traits from their parents until after they get older either. Heck, just look at Grandpa Bob. In the 80s, both sides of his head were this dark blue color. But in his old age, well, in his older age, the left side of his head was more of the color of a red healer. So again, point Mackenzie. Fair enough. The shape of the nose, point Mackenzie. The color of the nose, point Mackenzie. The coloring around the mouth definitely looks like a mix between Mackenzie and Bluey. So again, point Mackenzie. In terms of compatibility and availability, this makes a lot of sense too, because Mackenzie and Bluey share a lot of on-screen time together, considering the two of them have a friendly rivalry seen in various different episodes such as Barky Boats and Handstand. Their parents are friends together, meaning that they can see each other frequently, so much so that Mackenzie even invites Bluey to his birthday party. Childhood friends turned future lovers is simply a Disney classic. So for availability and compatibility, 2 points for Mackenzie. I could give another point to Jean-Luc for paralleling Bandit and Chili meeting in a country that wasn't their own, but that would mean I would have to give a point to Mackenzie given the fact that he is formerly native to New Zealand, and if that accent is anything to go by, he moved there recently. So I guess I'll just lowball it and give a point for both. Sorry Jean Blue shippers, but with 8 points for Mackenzie and 2 points for Jean-Luc, it looks like Mackenzie,
You are the father!
but wait, my fellow Blue Kenzie shippers, don't start celebrating yet. Jean Blue shippers, put down your torches and your pitchforks because there's one more thing I have to mention that might mess up everything. Later series redesigns. Yep, That's the one thing that could turn this entire theory into something completely moot. If the artists and designers decide to redesign Oreo for later episodes down the road, that will throw this theory completely on its head and void it entirely. This isn't even the first time they've had characters go through redesigns as the series progressed. They've done it with Calypso, Grubber's dad, Bradley Healer, Chili, and even MacKenzie's mom, who looks the most different from her first appearance in the first place, and they aren't shy about it either. You can still see the episodes where they have these old redesigns, so this entire theory could be completely invalid, but you know what? I'm okay with that. And all of you shippers in this war should be too. As much as we love these colorful characters, they are still in fact fictional, which means that even if you don't like the ships that are canon, you can still have fun with the ships that are fanon. Again, I've been a Trireme shipper for 17 years, so love that fan art, love your ships, because they will still be there even if what you said was dead wrong. But remember, that's just a theory. The Moz theory. I've always wanted to say that, and I'm so glad I finally got to. Crossing off that specific video from my video making bucket list, finally! Thanks for watching.